Okay, yeah, recording the cloud server. Okay, we are now recording for the Wheel of
Yay!
Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. Um, I was going to say that I went ahead and posted the questions from Tarot Wisdom in the chat, and maybe we can let those kind of open our conversation around the Wheel of Fortune, and then get some dialogue and conversation going around that, and then we can move into Kurt's lovely gallery that he puts together, and have him talk us through some of that. How does that work? Does that sound good? Enough? All right. So this first question is really interesting to me. In fact, all of these questions are really interesting to me, and they seem like a little bit kind of different, a different feel than some of the other questions that she's posted for the other cards. But this idea of, this first question, what turns the wheel? I think it's a great, what momentum, what causes the momentum to turn the wheel?
Karma.
Karma. What goes around comes around kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sequence of questions is very interesting, because one of the things that she says in 78 Degrees of Wisdom is that the Wheel of Fortune indicates a change, and it's often a change that, if it's a reading, it's often a change that the querent has no external control over. So it probably is something karmic, but it may not even be from this life per se. It could be,
right.
Yeah, it could be having to do with wider events, like grander events than are evident to the person. So these questions are kind of like draw attention to that and try to parcel out, what the causes might be, So it's almost as if, you're giving a reading to somebody and they get the Wheel of Fortune in the outcome position. You would then do a second reading with these questions, right, to help them figure out what the wheel means. Yeah.
What's that wheel meaning? What is it indicating? Yeah, because I think that this idea of having almost like the wheel the wheel's going to spin, and it's spinning now. It's kind of a faded spin, and that I was going to say that if we go and we look at some of these other, like this Wheel of Fortune, for example, when I look at the action in this card, I don't know that this is sort of like this wheel that got lost, right? It just sort of like it got loose, and nobody planned that. It just sort of got loose and it got away, right? And it's spinning, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of consternation. Like, people are not like freaking out about it. It's almost like a very, like, whoa, a surprise, right? I don't know, like necessarily a pleasant surprise, but a surprise. But those times when you get surprised, and it's something you weren't totally expecting, but if you're in the right place at the right time, in the right mindset, even though it's a surprise that comes at you, it's actually a kind of pleasant thing, right? And I'm not talking necessarily like a surprise at a surprise party or something like that, just something that just catches you and startles you a little bit. And maybe there's a kind of whimsical feel to it, right? That sort of light, whimsical feel to it. And there's all kinds of surprise, maybe surprise, a little bit of surprise going on.
What's interesting that the figures in that card are not close up to the wheel, because one of the things that Rachel Pollack points out also is that, when we're up close to a situation, when we're on the wheel, so to speak, we can't see what's coming or going. But for example, in a lot of cards, like you'll have Fortuna pictured, or you'll have the Fates pictured, or you'll have, but they're outside of the wheel. so they can see, they can see what's going on. um
Yeah, you can't really see it when you're on it, right? It becomes part of that. It's so difficult. You don't have perspective. You can't see it coming. You don't necessarily know what direction it's going in. Um, and I don't know. I have this question. I mean, is it something you can feel around it? Like intuitively feel? Um, that's a good question, right? Because sometimes I want to say yes, and sometimes maybe no, in the sense that I don't know, if you're too much in it, you can't really see what's going to happen, right? You can't really feel that. You get
maybe
sort of,
maybe the card is calling us to actually do that, to actually step back and try to feel what's going on, because maybe we're on it and we don't know, and then we get the card, and then the card comes up and it's like, okay, you're undergoing this change. um Take a step back and feel it, because the the wheel of dharma we've already talked about a little bit. But also, the wheel of the year is symbolized in there. um and so on, and the changing of the seasons and that sort of stuff, that sort of thing, you can feel is discernible, you know
right.
but the subtleties involved in that sometimes are hard to discern unless you know what to look for, unless you know what those feelings are, what those energies are.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about one of the things that's really, when you've been like teaching for a long time and you're used to a semester, I feel like I've been in semester like sort of portions of time for a very long time, and it's so sedimented in my body. It's like my body knows that. And when you force me out of that and you force me out of it, it really is. So there's, what I mean by that is like there's a cycle there that I can, it's like a predictive cycle. I can sit back and tell you exactly where I'm at in that particular cycle. And so there's that kind of cycle, like the seasons, right?
I've already
And
warned
then,
my yeah, I've already warned my non-academic friends that April is incredibly nuts. Anybody,
But I know.
if I'm gonna
there
go
you
nuts,
go.
it's gonna be this month. It's gonna be April. It's not gonna be May, because by then, it's pretty much, you're just doing
It's
finals
pretty
and
much done.
but April, because now students are coming up with some crazy, they're like, sorry, I haven't done the last two assignments, but I'm like,
For any of them. Yeah. I mean,
but
there's that.
yeah,
Some people swear that you have the same kind of thing, November is the same kind of thing as
yeah,
fall
oh,
semester,
absolutely.
but
November's
it
probably
is, right?
worse because
November as a student, November was always worse for me.
well,
Yeah.
because
November's
you've
tough.
got, and that's the whole wheel of the year thing too. You've got the celebrations that fall in that time. You have the changing of the seasons. You have the different, and sometimes if you're in a very active state of your career or whatever you're doing, or trying to chase after your kids who don't react to the changing of the seasons and stuff the way that we do, necessarily, well, they do, but they still, their low energy is still higher than our high energy. But anyway, like,
Yeah.
so it's, I think it's worse in November because that's the slowing down, but our lifestyles and our obligations a lot of times don't allow us to slow down. But I do think that that's one of the things that the Wheel of Fortune is causing us to do, is asking us to do, because the tarot doesn't really cause us to do anything. It brings things into perspective, um like for example, when I get a card like the Princess of Cups, right? What that tells me is I've got on my rose-colored glasses. I'm that kind of thing. But so the Wheel of Fortune is like, wait a minute, okay, let's try to, you're going through this change, and the change is going to happen, but let's see where this may be coming from. what responsibility that you have, what you can and can't do about it, you know, and then and that, and and I only listened to the audio once, so it would seem that the figures on the wheel, and Pollock talking about the significance of the figures on the wheel, you know, that would seem that it seems to be a process of death leading into life and so on, except that the figures on the Wheel of Fortune are different. Like they're not, it's not the Isis, Osiris, Horus, it's the Set, Anubis. Um, and I thought that was pretty fascinating with all of that.
Yeah. That
And
kind
I
of
don't-
correlation. There was
I
like a
don't
little
know
bit.
because I didn't do the background research, but is the Wheel of Fortune in any way tied? If any of you know, I don't know because I didn't look it up and I really should have. But you know that in the initiate grade of the Golden Dawn, the magical formula is 1 = 0. Is that related to the Wheel of Fortune at all? Because Pollock talks about essentially the Wheel of Fortune being the fool also, that it's related to the fool, and how the fool can means nothing and everything. And yeah, but numerologically, if you take the 1 and the 0 and you flip them, you get, yeah, so it, I don't know, I did not
There's
do my,
definitely. Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't prepare and I'm lost, you guys, just to let you know. And
I
I
didn't-
missed the beginning of your combo, so.
I didn't do my Kabbalistic homework like I normally do. That's I no offense to Mel Moline and her wonderful Kabbalistic book that she wrote on the which I bought but didn't read yet. Not the Wheel of Fortune part. But
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I was just flipping. I was flipping and I'm going to write some additional questions. I just realized that I had the questions at the back of the chapter and not the questions at the front of the chapter. So let me get those written up here as well. Yeah, I didn't research all of that. I do know that there is some stuff that, is that right? No, well, maybe no. Never mind. Don't pay any attention to me. I ended up having a late day kind of work related thing that I had to work with one of my colleagues on. And so it kind of threw me off. It was like, oh, I'm going to be able to study. And then we ended up going for an extra hour and a half after that. Right. So it was like, I wasn't able, my hour and a half to study was taken up with that work related thing. But I guess there is a whole piece in terms of numerology on page 130 that addresses some of the numerology. I don't know if it addresses exactly, but it's talking about.
I'm gonna look up.
Are we in Tarot Wisdom?
Yeah,
Okay.
so CJ on it and Heather, page 130. She even kind of works out this kind of the number 432 suggested inverted pyramid. If we complete it by adding 1 for the totality of existence, we get this figure here,
Right.
right? That sort of inverted pyramid.
Where is she pulling 432 from? Oh, from up here, from each one has 430. Okay, I get it.
Mhm.
Boy, this is kind of like, this goes kind of really deep right there.
Well, and I think the point that they were trying to make here is that all of these symbols, there are symbols in all the cards, but this one has a really concentrated amount of these symbols in the card. And so it's really interesting because when I've read the tarot card and this card comes up, I usually read it as we were talking about earlier, sort of karmic cycles, those kinds of things, and didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to these symbols here,
Oh, yeah.
but was more interested in sort of like the symbols, the bull and the eagle and the angel and well, I'm missing one. What is it? What's the one that's
It's like a Pegasus looking thing.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is.
Oh, a sphinx. There's a sphinx,
Sphinx,
right?
yeah.
The sphinx. And then this figure here is usually that sort of red jackal and sort of that traditional Rider-Waite. And so in fact, I'm really tempted to go and pull just my regular, right, well, it's right here. So you've got the Sphinx at the top. You've got, it looks like a griffin. Hello, I just turned to page 129. It's right there. And
Yeah.
seeing that the serpent, right? So seeing that serpent and at least the way that Teresa Reed talks about the serpent, and again, referring to 78 Degrees of Wisdom, she talks about that as sort of that transformation. The way a snake will shed its skin. There's a kind of a symbolic gesture to transformation. Yeah, but I mean, and that's probably as sophisticated as my knowledge goes at this point when it comes to the
So and it
Yellow.
also, the letters on the card, I'm looking at the Rider-Waite card. They have to do with the impronounceable name of the Hebrew God.
okay.
And that's part of it. And then I'm looking at Moline's book now, but Pollock also mentioned this, that Paul Foster Case translated the Latin on the tarot card and made a sentence out of it, and it said that basically, if I'm remembering correctly, said that tarot is the key to life, meaning that one can read the nature of life through the tarot. Right.
Okay, now say that again, because I went and pulled my most traditional deck, which is the Connolly Tarot.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you just say, Kurt? The Latin around it?
Yeah. So
So say that one more time, because I just opened it and mine has the Latin and mine's reading something different. So say it again.
so Paul Foster Case said that it's not arranged in a sentence on the card, but he actually
Right.
arranged it that way. And the sentence that he came up with was tarot is something like tarot is the key to life, or something like that.
Okay.
Or one can read life through the tarot, something like that.
One can read life through the tarot.
Okay, so this is my most traditional deck. It's the Connolly Tarot deck.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the wheel of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4, I know it's not in with the glare and it's not in complete. I'm trying to get it. But do you see the Latin words there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says here, the Latin inscription around the wheel is translated, I reign, I reigned, I am without reign, I shall reign. Meaning R-E-I-G-N.
Yeah.
Like a sovereign reigning.
Right. I reign, I reigned, past tense. I am without reign, and I shall reign. Then it goes on to say the 4 corners of the card show the 4 original tools of the magician's table. The use or misuse of these tools determines our place on the wheel of life. Interesting. As the wheel consistently turns, man must realize the rhythm and nature of his own wheel. The key word to this card is change. And then it goes on, remember when you're down on the wheel of life, there's only one way to go, and that is up. And then if it's reversed, everything may appear to be wrong, but no matter how hard you try, but have courage, be strong, put your thoughts on higher things.
So, I mean, I'm echoing a lot apparently. Now, the Latin as you describe it makes sense because the planet that corresponds with the card is Jupiter.
Jupiter,
Is Jupiter, yeah, or Zeus, yeah, Jupiter.
and Zeus corresponds with Jupiter?
Well, yeah, Jupiter is the Romanization of Zeus. And actually, in some cards, you'll see there's a lightning bolt behind the wheel, like not on the wheel, but behind it.
Uh-huh.
And the lightning bolt is Zeus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so on this card, since this is my most traditional one, in the center of the wheel, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines with the circle. And so I guess there's 4 symbols in there, but then outside of that, there's actually 8 symbols, which are Hebrew, Kurt, I assume. Hebrew letters. And then are those the 4 elements on the inside cycle?
Those are not Hebrew
You're-
letters.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of letters they are, but they're not Hebrew.
Okay. All righty, thank you.
So here's something about the 1 and the 0, the 10 or the 1 and 0. It says contemplate the idea of the 1 and the 0, X as in 10, as an axle and a wheel, positive and negative polarities in fluctuation that create perpetual motion, perpetual motion machine, or a cosmic on-off button. A cosmic on-off button, kind of like zeros and one, like a binary zeros and ones.
Binary.
Yeah. Says the magical weapon is the specter. The magical power of the Wheel of Fortune is power of acquiring political and other ascendancy.
Say that again, magical power is what?
The power of acquiring political and other ascendancy. So coming into power, rising into power, whether it's political or otherwise. But the concept that Pollock brings out, which I think is important, is that for something to ascend, something has to descend. You know, so that's what she brings up in the questions.
What rises, what falls?
Yeah, right. What's rising and what's falling.
Well, and going back to those phrases, CJ, I reigned, right?
Right,
Yeah, the different sort of
depending
rising
on
and
where
falling.
you are on the
Yep.
wheel.
Yeah. So what's really kind of fun about this deck here is to give you a pretty substantial guidebook, and it gives you a description of the image with the correspondence is the keywords, and then the story. And so the primary, the protagonist from the protagonist perspective.
Oh, that's cool. So what do they? Yeah.
So if you want to hear that story, I can read it to you. And then it's the meaning. They're really short. They're not really long. And then it's just sort of the overall sort of meaning. So I love the way that that's set up, because that to me is the kind of like stepping into the card and feeling and sort of kind of moving your way. It's like stepping into the picture of it. Hi. Is everyone saying hi? Yay. Okay, so CJ, it's on page 37.
Got it, I'm with you.
Okay, so here's the story. And for this card right here, it says, off we go, chasing the wheel, up and down and round it goes. Where it will take us, nobody knows. I wouldn't say I'm a lucky man, but the tire rolled away from me. I felt something change. I should have been frustrated, time's money in my struggling business, but instead I jumped up and ran after it, out of the workshop and into the sunshine. There were people mooching about by the cars, grumbling because theirs hadn't been serviced yet. And when I came hurtling out, they got excited and shouted encouragement. It was like the world had gone from monotonous monochrome to full color and brimming with amazing possibilities. I'm not a
Wow.
dramatic sort. I'm a mechanic, not a poet. But I could have sworn that as that tire rolled on, picking up speed, all sorts of fantastic things happened. The neglected verges burst into bloom, and the white road markings turned into a rainbow. Perhaps it was the sun glinting off the metal hub of the wheel that dazzled me, but at the time, running down that road, I thought I saw gold glinting at the end of that supernatural spectrum. Why not, eh? I just knew if I just went with it to see where it would take me, then it would lead me to good things, like a new investor for my business. Who knows? Who dares to dream, and he who dares wins. Fortune favors the brave, so be like me and don't turn away when Lady Luck throws the dice or the tire your way. Turn and turn about. It's my turn now, and good luck to you too. So literally going with the flow, going with the turn, leaning into it as opposed to sort of like, I think maybe resisting it. Definitely
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
like that message there, because it's going to turn regardless.
Mhm.
Regardless of the attitude that you bring with it, it's going to happen, right? You might as well lean in and see what it can yield you.
It's interesting. Earlier today, I was reading this, listening to this audiobook that's actually, if you have Audible Plus, so the way that Audible is getting people to keep subscribing now, because there's so many avenues for audiobooks now, is they have this whole Audible Plus thing where there's a whole library of books that you don't have to buy, that you can just download. And one of them is American Coven, and it's 5 women, magical women, who basically paved the way for what we know as today as quote unquote New Age. And one of the chapter I was listening to was on Helena Blavatsky, and she became prominent at a time when women were not really taken all that serious. The only way, even the spiritualist movement, the only way women were taken seriously is if they if they allowed a male spirit to speak through them. Then then it was the male spirit and not the. But Blavatsky was really the first person in America to talk about the wheel of Dharma and reincarnation, and she said in Isis Unveiled that you might be a woman this time and a man next time. So, once a man, always a man. And, and we think of that now and think of that as probably like sexist or offensive or whatever. But what she was saying was, for her audience of her time, it was, well, I'm in a woman's body now, but what difference does it make? What does, and so that sort of corresponds to the I reigned, I reigned, and so on. She was also the first person, incidentally, in the West to talk about the triple goddess. She very much she and then Fraser, and she and Fraser both very much influenced Gerald Gardner a generation later. But yeah, I mean, she was like, well, why does it matter that I'm a woman? I used to be a man. I could be.
What's the big idea? I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever done, anybody's done a past life regression meditation?
I would love to. Would you facilitate that sometime?
Yeah, actually I have a script, and we can kind of work through it. And I did this as part of my training when I was working with the Siblings, the Sibling Wicca. They're pretty much defunct now, but 15 years ago they were active and they were really great. And Florence Bunton, who is, she was one of the elders. Anyhow, we did this beautiful sort of past life regression meditation, this guided meditation. I was able to see like at least two past lives, right? It just took a while. And in one, I looked down and I'm clearly, it's a male body, right? It's a male body. And it's set in the time around 1500s. And I was a map maker. Like
Oh,
I
wow.
sailed to create maps. Like I mapped the coastline. It was just really a cool thing. And then another one was, I saw me in a Southern plantation house as part of the plantation owner family. And it was just those were the two that came through. Like if we'd stuck with it, it was about an hour. It takes a long time to kind of get there and then came back out. But it's a fantastic, that's what I thought of immediately, Kurt, when you were talking about these multiple lives previous. And the degree to which the sort of gender identity shifts, right? That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. I like that.
Yeah, that book is actually really it's a fun book, the American Covenant.
American Covenant. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look-
American Covenant or American Coven?
I think it's American Covenant, and then on the title, on the front of the book, it has the word coven. Like the coven part of covenant is bolded, and it's got a pinnacle on a pentagram on the cover, and then the faces of the women around the. They start with Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau is the first.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love it. You're speaking
Yeah.
my language.
Yeah, and apparently there were 3 Marie Laveaus. Like
What?
Yeah, there were 3 Marie Laveaus, and it goes into all that. And then there was a medium who was like Clara somebody, but she was like 14, 15 years old, and she was really, of course, got taken advantage of unbelievably, but and then the part that I'm on now is Z Budapest. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's neat. I wrote it down, so I'll look for it.
Yeah, it's free, and it's also free on Kindle Unlimited also. Yeah.
So
But I think
I was just going to say that this last question, what is at the center? What is at the center of the wheel?
Well, on every card that I only have 3 cards pulled, but on every one, it's like a point.
Mhm. Like, what do you mean? Like this? Is this what you're talking about right here?
Yeah, so you have it. I have it on this one. It's in the middle of that. There's just a center point. In the middle of the tire, there's a center point. So are we to derive something from that center point? Is that the divine?
What's causing, yeah.
I mean, if the divine source is at the center of everything, I mean, I'm just speaking out of nothing here.
Well, Pollock actually comes to that conclusion, basically, that one of the realities that the Wheel of Fortune asks us to contend with is that we're ultimately subject to the divine and to the wheel, whether we want to be or not. We're ultimately subject to it.
So like Denise said, we might as well lean into it because, I mean, it's only going to make things worse to fight it, right?
Yeah, there's this phrase I've come across. It says, it says, let go or be dragged, right? And so I think there's this kind of idea about the Wheel of Fortune, that if you kind of have, by letting you lean in, by you sort of let go of the resistance, because it will drag you, right? I mean, it will drag you and it will make it, I mean, there's potential learning in that.
Again, we go back to Bruce Lee, be like water,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was his whole teaching.
Sort of mold into the,
Yeah.
whatever shape you need to mold into.
I want to get his daughter's new book.
Be receptive.
Yeah.
So ironically, Kurt, that's what Richard always says. He's like water and he's just always flowing and you can't.
Richard is not like water. I can come up with like 10 different ways right now that man is not like water.
Certainly not in the way.
You are super fiery or more like water than Richard is.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay. So what's at the center? And Pollock does actually talk about that and makes the observation exactly that CJ does, is that in the Rider-Waite that there's nothing at that center point. I can't remember what she says about it specifically, but
my point was that the divine was at that center point, but I guess that's equal to nothing and everything.
Yeah. I think she was saying it in reference to the 0, to the 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The 0 of the 10. Okay.
I think.
There's nothing. Yeah.
Denise, this deck you gave me, this Wildwood, I mean, so the cool thing in it is it's talking about all the feathers that are on that loom. They belong to very specific birds. And I think there's four birds, 4 kinds of feathers.
Okay.
There's 4 kinds of hagstones hanging from the loom. The wheel of the year is represented, and attached to the sleeves are feathers from the hawk, the wren, and I don't know that much about bird symbology.
Mm-hmm.
The hawk, the wren, the swan, and the kingfisher, which are the 4 sacred, or they are sacred creatures of the Wildwood. We catch a glimpse of the sun and moon in the sky together. So I guess ascension, descension. I'm throwing in my own stuff in here.
So those 4 birds represent sort of the 4 winged creatures, the winged creatures that are in the traditional Rider-Waite. Okay.
Which is the Sphinx. What are those?
It's not a Sphinx. It looks like a griffin.
Griffin.
Eagle.
Eagle.
Winged bull.
Bull.
And then there's an angel or an archangel. I don't know if it's an archangel, but there's an angel figure.
It's representative of the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
4 fixed signs.
So Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and I'm missing one, Leo. And also the 4 archangel, the 4 major archangels. Here we go. Lion is Leo, fixed fire, Regulus, Raphael, the angel Raphael. Eagle is in the Gospel of Mark. Eagle is Scorpio, fixed water. Antares, which is, I guess, is a star, right? And Uriel in the Gospel of John. The angel / man is Aquarius, fixed air. Fomalhaut, which I guess is also a star or a celestial body. Gabriel and Gospel of Matthew. And then bull is Taurus, Fixed Earth, Aldebaran, I don't, Angel Michael, and Gospel of Luke. Yeah, so you can tell John that he's an angel, CJ, or Richard. You can tell them that they're angels. And your
They
daughter.
are, they have been my angels, honestly,
And your daughter.
along with y'all. Okay, so interestingly on this one, the Wildwood, you see how it's on the loom, the wheel is on the, I know
Mhm.
it's not showing good, but the
Yeah.
wheel is on it and it's
Mhm.
in this loom and it says, I like the last thing it says in the description, this is not the meaning. It says the loom waits for the skillful hand of the unseen, I don't know if that's the center, the unseen weaver to complete the pattern of possibilities and potential that constitutes fate and chance. So is that unseen person, is that the divine? Is that us ourselves for our own life? But then the divine's running through us, so yes and yes?
Correct. Yeah. Also, it's interesting that they say the unseen hand because the Hebrew letter that corresponds to the Wheel of Fortune means hand.
Mm.
So that's and the implication is that that what is possible, or what is our fortune, quote unquote, is written in the lines of our hand.
No.
Yeah.
I would love
And the
to
Hebrew
see.
letter is what?
It means hand. It's
Oh, okay.
let me look up the actually.
No, it's okay. I was just curious. Fortune, that's
Because I just
cool.
had it. Let's see.
Okay, I'm falling in love with this Wildwood deck, just so y'all know. Thank you.
Cough is the letter K-A-P-H.
Like this really, Denise, speaks to that whole, everything we were talking about in the garden today. It speaks to that whole love of Mother Earth, really.
Well,
to me.
it's pre-Celtic shamanism. So it's pre-Druidic shamanism is what the Wildwood Tarot is supposed to, it's, and that's actually, I've seen that as a trend among quote unquote New Age folks, is in trying to embrace European ideas of shamanism, as opposed to, trying to appropriate Native American. So it's kind of an answer to,
Other indigenous.
right, because I mean, in the 90s there were like honkies doing like sweat lodges and charging people money, and tribes rightfully protesting them for doing it, so the whole Celtic shaman idea, Nordic shaman, there's a whole thing about Nordic shamanism also.
Yeah, you have to go, I think, you have to go back a long ways to be able to
But I
find
really
those practices.
like the Wildwood because the guy that created it was one of the actors in Robin of Sherwood, which is my favorite Robin Hood
Yeah, that's what you were saying. That's right.
story. Yeah, and he actually played in Sherwood Forest as a kid. And so a lot of the inspiration for the Wildwood actually is Sherwood Forest, the real Sherwood Forest.
There is a film that I don't remember, it came out probably 2000, somewhere in the 2000s maybe, and is it Clive Owen? Does that sound right? Clive Owen.
Yeah.
And who was the actress she was in Atonement, and she was in Pride and Prejudice. She played Elizabeth Bennet.
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley. She's
Keira
in
Knightley.
it. And it's a Arthur legend, right?
Yeah.
But it's that
yeah.
but it's that pre kind of period you're talking about there. I think it's a similar time period, right? That's that pre
Yeah,
It's a fascinating film. It's really, I
it's
thought
the
it was
idea
wonderful.
that Arthur, yeah, it's the idea that Arthur started out a Roman, and that's one of the theories. If there was a historical Arthur,
Mhm.
probably was a Roman, like a Roman officer,
Yeah.
so forth. That yeah.
Yeah. Well, are we ready to do a little look at the gallery that
Yeah,
you put
let's see
together?
if I can get this to pop up on the screen.
We can do that.
Okay. So this is our kind of traditional Wheel of Fortune here. We've got,
So are those the four elements, the triangle, the circle, the two waves out from the center point of the wheel? The approximately.
yes, that's exactly.
Are
what
those
that
air,
is.
water, fire, earth?
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that's what that is. Yeah.
Okay, so then that's the same thing on like our traditional stuff here.
Mhm, right,
Yeah.
right. And so apparently the snake is supposed to represent Set, and then you have the
Mhm.
Sphinx,
That's a beautiful card.
Mhm.
and it has to do with, and the Sphinx is the same Sphinx from the Chariot card. I mean, you're supposed to make, we're supposed to make the connection between the Sphinx here and the Sphinx that we saw in the Chariot.
What deck is that?
This is it's called the Llewellyn Classic deck.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and what they did was they took the Rider-Waite and they just tried to add more movement in it. They
Well,
tried to
it
make,
has that particular card out of this deck has almost a steampunky feel that I like.
yeah,
Yeah.
With rivets, and it looks like metal.
Mhm.
yeah. This is this so far of the cards that we've seen from this deck. This is kind of, I mean, this is I think in a lot of ways it's very traditional, but it's the most departure that
Well,
they've
and it
done.
looks easy to read once
Yeah.
you understand the wheel.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm still curious about is, do y'all see all those letters around the outside of the wheel? Those are the same letters I have on mine that are not Hebrew. And so I'm curious about those letters. That'll be further research for me.
Yeah. Let us know what you find out.
Okay.
Because I just, I was like, meh, Hebrew. You know what I mean? I was like,
At first glance, it's like you just glance.
mm-hmm.
Well, some of them are Hebrew, some of them are not.
Yeah.
Like, so in this particular,
Yeah, because I swear there's pi on there.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that pi down there towards the bottom on the right?
No,
Yeah, look, keep going to your right, right there, up. No, yeah, up, right there.
that's not pi.
On mine, it looks like pi when you turn it right side up, when the wheel is right side up.
Okay, that's
No?
actually Hebrew. These are actually Hebrew, and so is this. But I don't. But this is not, and the T and the R are not.
Well, I'll research that for you guys.
Yeah. And here's the goddess Fortuna, which according to Rachel Pollack, she was actually in much earlier time, she was one of the goddesses who was emblematic of the great goddess overall. And the turning of the wheel actually represented the sacrificial king, that is in the Wiccan teachings. That the idea of the king, the sacrificial king that then is reborn and so on, and you can see here, with her wings, she later depictions of Sophia, the Christian goddess, is very much depicted in this way with wings and so on. So that's kind of interesting.
And what deck is that?
That's the dark goddess.
And then is that Shadowscapes?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is freaking gorgeous.
Yeah. And it's interesting that there are no I mean, I don't see any, people or
Yeah, there's all the little winged people.
oh
They're
yeah,
flying
yeah,
around the
okay.
wheel.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Hang on, I'm gonna go grab that book real quick.
Oh yeah, now I see. Now I see.
I had the book in here already and I didn't realize it. Let's just do a quick little. We did the Hermit last week. I think the little winged people, just from a quick scan of this, are the fates that are weaving the threads of life eternally, one tied to another, snipping this thread here, weaving it into a tapestry there. Slowly, as the cloth rolls away, the images emerge. It starts with once upon a time, neatly wrapped package comes to an end. True tales have no beginning or end. They do not exist only when men say exist, but they are always there, reverberating through time in a weaving dance. We try to contain it with beginnings and ends, but to put boundaries on everything simply because our own lives are bounded by birth and death. And thus we seek to lessen the power of that which is immortal. I think that's important.
Yeah.
True tales have a power that reaches beyond. And then the fates weave the threads of life eternally, one tied to another, snipping here, weaving there. Slowly, as the cloth rolls away, the images emerge. Night follows in the cycle of the heavens. Year blooms with the first fresh buds of spring. How appropriate. To the sweltering profusion of long summer days and the shower of leaves as autumn sets in, and then the long dormant wait and sleep of winter, and it goes on and on. It is an inexorable and timeless tale. The walls and beauty that artisans create will one day fall, and you will rise up on those remains. And so do the individual fortunes of any person on a cycle that may last a day or two or years on end. The change will come. The wheel of fortune, destiny, the weaving of life's threads coming together, fate, turning points, movement and change, patterns and cycles, an interconnected world. Key point. The knotwork in the stained glass window is a single golden line that circles around the wheel as a continuous thread without start or finish. The rise and fall of the wheel as it turns is as the changes of life. If the world seems to be closing in and crushing hope with its weight, step back, Kurt, you said that, to see the bigger picture and the upturn that is soon to come. And it talks about, so the winged people that you see flying around are called the fates, and that's her original sketches of them there.
Oh, cool.
So she calls them, all those little creatures around there are called the fates. Perhaps another incarnation of fortune. They go by many names to the ancient Greeks. They were the Moirae, Clotho, the maiden, and Kurt, I don't know how to say all these, Lachesis, the mother, and Atropos, the crone, spinning, measuring, and cutting the threads of life for all mortals. In Norse mythology, the Norns, the Skuld, the Verdandi, and the Erd, weaving the fates of humanity into the shining tapestry of existence. Each thread passing through their hands representing a human life, the knots and snarls and the tribulations of the soul. That is just gorgeous. This deck is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kurt.
For some reason, the images shrank on this. See if I can make it bigger. Yeah.
Okay, so now we can see the wheel better on the Wildwood. And I didn't read about the hagstones, but do you see the 4 hagstones hanging at the
Yes.
bottom? And
Yeah.
it does talk about, though, it does talk about the night and day. The 3 herons stand at the margin of the pool like hooded men representing the fates. So mother, maiden, and crone. And awaiting the completion of the robe and the coming of its owner. And it talks about wearing our fate around us like a cloak, carrying with us all the potential and possibilities that the universe has to offer. And even though seemingly random, the chaotic nature of the universe always has the final wow, and can always has the final word, and we can affect our own life and that of the world by taking control of our destiny. Many believe that fate is set, that all things are predestined, but the weaver of the cloak can affect this ever-shifting matrix just by recognizing a pattern and making timely decisions. Yada, 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 yada.
That idea of leaning into it and leaning into your influence in that situation. Cool. I like that.
This tarot journey we're on, you guys, is just amazing, and it brings tears to my eyes every week.
It's deep, isn't it? I love it.
So deep, and it's
I love
so timely. Always, like, there's nothing about tarot that doesn't speak to you personally on the deepest soul level in every single moment.
No. I think I was talking about, I've mentioned her before, Lindsay Mack, who talks about tarot as, you know, that really the only true moment we ever have is the present. And we can of course glimpse the future, right? But there's so much that influences. And I think that description of the wheel that you just read, CJ, really underscores what Lindsay Mack is saying there, right? That there are small things that can shift it dramatically. And that really what the tarot can serve for us in a sort of a, maybe I think in some ways useful is not necessarily her word, but a more useful way to work with the tarot is to use it as a tool for, she calls it medicine. Right? That's the word, that tarot has a medicine that it can bring to us. And if we use it think about it that way, rather than trying to figure out what, rather than the sort of fortune telling aspect of tarot, which certainly can be very, very clear, right? And present itself in that way. But I just, and I love that. And I've been thinking about that a lot. It's really made me think about my practice, my tarot relationship differently. Having sort of encountered it that way, right? That it is that you can show up. I love what she says, that there are so many kinds of interesting myths in terms of how one should practice the tarot in order to be the most sort of open to be able to receive the messages from the ancestors or, the guides, that kind of thing. And she says, yes, you can do that, but you can also show up to the tarot messy, especially if you're thinking about it as a form of medicine, right? So otherwise you would never show up to the tarot.
Right, healthy people don't go to the hospital. Healthy people don't go to church.
Right. I mean,
Well, it's
there's,
also true that the tarot can show you that you're messy when you don't want to admit that you are. Like
Mhm.
the tarot can show you. That's what I find is that the tarot say like especially like the court cards. You get a certain card, like you get Princess of Cups or Knight of Swords or something, and there's a lot of nuances to those court cards, and they talk about the different aspects that are prevalent in one's consciousness if those cards come up. And I tend to believe, I mean, and they can represent individuals, but I think that the cards to a degree always represent the self, always represent the person who's reading them, doing, particularly if you're reading for yourself. And so, it calls into question, well, what's really, your thought process here, or what's really, the motivation behind this, so I find it with that, because we can talk ourselves into anything,
Yeah.
especially Aquarius can talk ourselves into anything.
Oh, I would say that there are probably other members of the of the zodiac that could do that under the right set of circumstances. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think there's, and this is one of the reasons too why I do like working with, I like working with spreads, because it makes it more, it keeps me sort of, I like the syntax of a spread.
yes, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
how I explain it. That's how I explain it, how it works, actually.
Yeah.
If somebody asked me how it works, I'd talk about the cards being metaphor and the spread being syntax.
Yeah.
I used to explain it that way when I read professionally.
Well, it's, and this is like a little bit of a philosophical kind of departure. It's related, but I'm fascinated by some of the readers that have YouTube channels, and there are a couple. I sort of watched a lot of different readers, and then over time, just to kind of get a sense of all that they're, what they're doing, that kind of thing. And then I've really kind of reduced it to just a couple of them now, right? Where they don't necessarily, they are using a spread. The spread is in their head though, right? So they're not necessarily,
Right.
so they're not necessarily sharing that spread, but the way they talk about the cards, and if you've been working with the cards long enough and working with spreads long enough, that they're reading it from a particular perspective or angle.
Yeah.
Right, but they don't have to have that out on the table.
Exactly, right? They don't
You're
have to
just
have the
pulling
cloth.
cards left and right.
Right.
Okay, got it.
and-
And see, that's how that woman reads that I posted a couple of times, Z. She just has a pile, literally, of cards.
That's what I used to do when I did it, when I did it professionally, was I would just
I apologize, Denise, keep going.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say that I think that the ones that, and then there's some readers that are very much will talk about, that this is what spirit is revealing in this particular moment. And I don't, if you look at sort of Lindsay Mack's perspective, I think she would say that may not necessarily be true. But even if you showed up and spirit was nowhere in the cards that day, you would still be able to walk away with medicine from the tarot. And I can appreciate that, right? Having kept myself.
I don't see how spirit couldn't be in the card. Like you might be in a place where you're not feeling or perceiving that connection.
Right.
But it's there.
Right.
Hence
So-
the medicine that you still walk away with, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you pointing
Okay.
that out because, you know, I think oftentimes that what will keep people from approaching the tarot is they don't think that they're connected enough to spirit guides or anything. Not everybody, of course, but some people, I just, I'm like, if you study tarot as a system and just sort of study it as a system, like a collection of story cards, then you can obtain a tremendous amount, I think, of benefit from understanding it just from that perspective, right? So you don't have to necessarily make it a spiritual tool. Many of us do, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Anyway, I just think it's kind of it's just an interesting perspective, and I just wanted to toss that in. But yeah.
So going back to our images, we go from the Wildwood, which is pre-Celtic,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go to the Celtic, we go to the Druids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure this because I didn't read ahead on this card, and I was trying to figure it out. But I think so. She's got a wheel in her hand that she's using as kind of like a pendulum. She's got it.
Right.
And then she's going from the inner wheel to creating the outer wheel, which is what.
And her foot is the center point of that wheel.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. And and her shadow is like going from one foot to the other is a radius on the wheel,
Mm-hmm.
which goes back to what CJ was saying about the weaver and the wheel. That's really cool. Thank you for that, CJ. That's cool.
Okay, the rock formation behind her, the cave behind her.
Yep.
Can you
Yeah.
see that? Is that a face that's in the, or is that just my tired eyes that are seeing?
It's not a face. I don't
See a face either, but I do see vegetation, flowers growing out of the rocks where there should be no flowers.
yeah.
Okay.
And then
And
of
below
course,
that,
the body of water behind us too.
Right. Yeah, there's a body of water.
Mhm.
And then moving from that,
like the spirit of the stone or something.
we have the round table.
Can you adjust that image, Kurt, so we can see the whole card?
I don't.
Oh,
No,
I
yeah,
cut off.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, now, and if you go up, okay. Does it just say the round table at the bottom?
It says the round table.
Okay. And is that supposed to be Stonehenge?
Stonehenge, yeah, it's Stonehenge, and then the round table, and then from the round table is the Holy Grail. And
Oh,
Paul,
and then inside Stonehenge is the Last Supper. It looks like to me that's potentially a Last Supper
it could
table.
potentially, well, because that's the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail, yeah, it comes from the Last Supper. So
So do you see that do you see the table with the 13 chairs or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah. And also I just thought of this too. It looks like we're looking into somebody's eye,
Mm-hmm.
right? It looks like the whole scene
Yes.
place
Yeah.
is kind of an eye, which we'll see something similar on another card.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Cool.
That is trippy.
And Pollock actually mentions that the origin, at least in Europe, of the Wheel of Fortune concept comes from an Arthurian legend where Arthur has a dream about a king being crushed on a wheel because he's, essentially trying to assert his power over that of the divine. And so the wheel is crushing him in the dream. And so that's the kind of the original idea, at least in the Western Europe, of the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, and then
Kurt, you do such a nice job putting this together. Was that the end tonight?
oh no, it's not. I pressed the wrong button. Hold on.
So while we're waiting, Heather, I have a question. Are you a roller girl for Alamo City Roller Girls?
Yes.
Oh my God, I want to go see you. I love roller derby and I've never been in real life.
Me too,
Yeah,
actually. I
it's
would
been
love to,
sad
I
with
would love to go
COVID. We
see
haven't
that.
practiced in a year, but hopefully it'll get started again soon.
And one of my favorite forms of exercise is to spend a day at Rollercade, where I grew up.
I love the roller game.
That's where
Yeah.
I grew up. I've had all my birthdays there. My daughter has had her birthdays there. And like, that is still to this day one of my favorite forms of working out.
Mine too. That's why I got into roller derby.
Well, so I'm just going to throw this out there. I want to come see you. I want to come watch you if you can help me get tickets or whatever whenever things open up again and are safe, because I am a little more cautious than your average person.
A
Yeah.
friend of mine, actually, who's a very accomplished psychologist now, but back in the day, she was on a roller derby team in Chicago when she was in graduate school, and that's how she met her husband. You know, is
This?
my friend Amanda.
Oh,
She met her husband. He was like one of the boosters for. He was either one of the coaches or he was somehow related to the roller derby team. But yeah, they've been together for a long time, and they've got a kid and everything, and all that. They met through roller derby.
wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've talked to her on a post of yours about roller
oh
derby.
yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like I think we've talked.
yeah. Her son just had his birthday too. I tried to get on their Zoom, but apparently, like, I got the time wrong or something.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah. The mice are running around the kitchen, squealing.
Kurt, stop. Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about your
At least they're cute.
So, well, no, there
Not like
was
a rat.
one this morning that was so cute. I was like, and it's sad because I put a murder order in for them.
Oh
Like,
no. Yeah, I would be sad, but
so sad. Like, and
yeah, I feel like I don't want y'all in my pantry, so.
well, they've pooped all over my like kitchen stuff. I'm gonna have to probably,
Oh yeah.
but my friend was like, why don't you just capture them all and put them in a cage and then
Keep them as pets.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean they could be spirit animals or something. Who knows?
They're unsanitary animals living where we cook food. No.
So here we actually have the three fates in this card here.
The mythic.
Yeah, I mean this is the Greek. Yeah, these are Greek. They're Greek. So these are the three fates. And the different people on the different parts of the wheel. The thread, the thread of fate.
Hmm.
And do you see her snippers? If the crone has the snippers for the end.
Yeah. So somehow I put white not white seers shadowscapes on here twice, but
That's okay. But let's go. So the middle one is the good tarot, correct?
correct. And it just has like a classic.
It has an upside down face though, sideways upside down, and then it has the other little one in the middle. Where is the good? I think I took that book back.
I mean, the descriptions on it are very brief. Let me see if I can bring it up on my phone. I've got it, CJ. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Oh man.
I've got it. So it says, Fortune's wheel, destiny meets synchronicity. I am in awe to experience many meaningful coincidences that prove to me that spirit has always has my back.
Yeah.
These lucky breaks and moments when things just turn out perfectly show how we're all connected. My gamble will pay off when I trust my co-creative partnership with spirit. My destiny is obvious to me now.
Okay, so the key point in there, which is everything I learn in quote church on Sundays and whatnot,
Right.
is when I trust my co-creative partnership with capital S spirit.
Right.
So it's about trust. It's about being co-creative. We are creative with spirit, but we must be in partnership.
Yeah, we have to lean into it.
We have to trust.
We have to lean into it. Because we can try to go the other way, for a bit. We can do our own thing within our limited capacity, but we're ultimately going to be, the wheel is ultimately going to pull us along. I love this because this is from the Chrysalis, and I love this because Pollock mentions that the wheel is originally tied into goddess worship and Fortuna and everything, and here we have the goddess image. Yeah.
And then talk about, did you look anything up on this card? Is that smoke coming out of this
I
thing?
think it's I didn't look anything up, but I believe it's like a votive, like an offering.
Mhm.
Oh, like maybe a bowl of incense per se?
Mhm.
Right. And actually, if you, in like the oracles in ancient times, they would actually breathe in, they would
The
be
smoke
smoke.
in a ritual, yes.
Yeah.
So they talked about doing that. We didn't do it, but they talked about doing that at the beginning of our shamanic journey the other weekend.
Uh-huh.
Is using some special tobacco
Yeah.
to have it blown into you. And I'm not talking pot or anything. I'm talking
Right.
some ritualistic thing.
Tobacco in the Native American, not all Native American traditions, and actually, in fact, in Western mysticism, tobacco, and I'm not talking about cigarettes, but good tobacco is representative of the tarot card death. So
Death? D-E-A-T-H?
correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
it has a long history of facilitating change, or being a part of that which facilitates change. So, I mean, if you've ever read one of the things I remember from Donald Michael Craig's 11 Lessons in the High Magical Arts, he has this whole passage in there about how he couldn't believe that tobacco had magical properties, and he hates tobacco. But then he went to an actual tobacco shop, and there's so many different varieties of tobacco and all that. He actually found tobacco that smelled good, that he could use as an incense, like an incense.
Mm. Do they use tobacco like an incense?
Well, in mystical, in spiritual workings, yes. Like, I mean, it's used like you would use any other scent, but it has to be really good. I mean, you can't just take a cigarette and, I mean, you could.
I mean, if you had nothing else and you were trying to do a ritual?
Exactly. Like, if you had nothing else, then yeah.
Mhm.
That's why I say you could, So this is from the So Below. And we have all of the stages the major stages of life of woman and goddess. And we also have the 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So that one is the So Below.
Right.
And the blue one is the As Above.
Right.
I finally got it.
We also have the Four Seasons here. And
That is so beautiful.
we have the Grail at the, or no, is that a tree? That's a tree. That's a tree.
Mhm.
Yes, and it's each
yeah.
part of each quadrant of the tree is a
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Right. That's cool.
that
And
is
I
really
love
cool.
the grapes hanging.
Oh,
down.
check this out. Check this out. So each of the 8 parts here is a different Sabbath. Is a different
Yeah.
syllable.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you have the astrological
Mm-hmm.
correspondences. Those are really cool. I mean,
That is a beautiful card.
a lot of work went into those. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that deck or decks. The companion.
Dex. Yeah, Dex. Here is
Mm-hmm.
Lightseer, and I love her. She's just, I mean, she's leaning into it. Like this
Oh.
is
Lean in. I
Yeah.
love, yeah, the dice around her neck.
Yeah,
yeah. She's even did that's a what do you call that pose that she's in?
Tree.
Tree pose.
It's what?
Tree
Tree.
pose.
Yes. Oh, it's called a tree pose?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. So it works.
which is interesting for the
Yeah.
Wheel of Life we just came off of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To root down into the earth.
Mhm.
Yep.
And this actually, because it's wheel on wheel on wheel, it's actually a spiral.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Well, and look, the flower of life is behind her. Do you not see that sacred geometry going on back there?
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Like it's all, if you can stay, which you can't, but if you can at least be in that place of oneness.
Well, and someone in a Satguru or someone who's in samadhi, perpetual samadhi, they are in that state all the time. That's what separates a Satguru from the rest of us. You know, like a true saint, you know, like as they are in that state all of the time. There's a few people on earth like that. I've actually met one. I was given a mantra by one and a spiritual name. Now here is, so
Is that the Rosetta?
this is Rosetta, and remember that in Maline's book she talked about the 1 and the 0.
Yes, and there's your 1 and your 0.
There's the 1 and the 0, and it's
And then look at the 2 arrows. So it's essentially a clock.
right, or a compass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, but a compass would be straight across, I think. That looks
Right,
more
it
like
is a clock.
time.
It is a clock, and in some
Mhm.
I think you do actually have like more of an indicate. Yeah, it's definitely a clock. So
And
you-
then you've got that eye again, like we saw in the other one. And I noticed that in her 2 decks, she uses the eye and the pyramid a lot.
so this is the Eye of Horus. This is this,
Mhm.
so this is the this
Okay,
is
and look, his eye, his pupil is the center of the wheel, Denise.
right.
I love it.
Yep. And then you have the 4 creatures. The snake is here.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course we have our Tabula Mundi. I love this is one of my favorite Tabula Mundi cards just because there's so much going
Hmm.
on.
The color palette is
Wow.
freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
And look, here you've got the lightning bolt behind the
Yeah.
so we've got the Jupiter, the lightning, but the Zeus. Oh wow, I just noticed here's a Droje, which is a
Yep.
Mhm.
Buddhist. Yeah. Spirit, it's basically a spiritual knife.
Okay, look, Kurt, I am gonna have to buy this deck.
Well, okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Okay.
what deck is that?
It's
Oh my
Tabula-
God,
You
Tabula
have to
Mundi.
special order it from the artist,
Oh, wow.
whom I've actually talked to on. I have a copy of the deck I actually talked to her on email, and she's like the coolest person ever. Like you'd think somebody who's this talented and shit would be, but no, she is the sweetest person. And
I love it.
So did you look up anything about this card to talk to us about?
I did not. I'm just in awe. Like there's a lemur.
There's a lemur, the owl,
The,
exactly in the eye. There's your eye again. How many stars? Like, I mean, it looks like there's more than 13. There's a lot of stars.
There's a lot of stars.
And
There's-
then check it out. If you turned the card sideways, like the wheel is the iris of another eye, where
Wow.
the purple is
oh, you're
the
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
right?
It's here. It looks like a vagina. Like
Okay, where's
Yeah,
the vagina?
yeah.
I need my vagina, you guys.
yeah,
Oh, the
and
whole thing is the
she's all about the vagina. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Her decks are all about the vagina. So you got, yeah, yeah. And that really is like
Tabula Mundi,
it's $78, I think, for this deck.
fortune card.
I think maybe it's a little less. Maybe it's but it's an awesome deck. It really and she signs it. She'll sign that she signs like the top card of the deck.
That's so cool.
Yeah. You can all Heather, you can get the app for $4. There's a Tabula Mundi app for the iPhone for $4.
And does it have all the descriptions and everything?
Absolutely. It has the entire book in it.
Mm.
I may have to get that when I
It's
get a
only-
new phone.
It's for iPhone, yeah, for $4. It's by Fool's Dog is the name of the is
Okay.
the developer. Yeah. That's where I get most of these images from, is from the decks I got from there. I love that I've never ever even seen any cards from this deck, but I love this.
That's
I
wonderful.
love the kitty playing with the wheel.
I love
Yeah.
it.
And the Ohm is in the center of the wheel.
Is
Mhm.
she doing a new deck called the Pharaoh's Tarot?
Yes, she is. Because I'm on her mailing list, and she's done with the major arcana. She's doing the minor arcana now, and she just shared two images from the minor arcana, and they're amazing. They're like,
So when I look up the description to the card we just saw, I don't get it. I get instead the one from her new
yeah,
deck.
which is
And I'm just gonna tell you, it's just as freaking beautiful.
Mm.
wow.
And
Yeah,
it's called Fortune.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry for
Oh no,
interrupting you guys.
but I love the kitty playing with it, because if anybody can play with fate, it's a kitty.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
They have how many lives?
Depends on which cat, Denise.
I know, right?
well, Nut Nut thinks they're really cool, although she doesn't want them interloping in her area, but if she goes into an area where there's already a cat, she will submit to the cat. But there's more cats showing up on the porch now. I think maybe they sense the Jerry's in here. They want to get it.
Jerry's.
Yep, the kitties know that they're in there.
And the blue one is from where?
That is from the Journeys into Egypt.
Are they all blue like that? No, right?
No, that's just this one.
Okay, I'm gonna excuse myself for a moment.
I ordered the Labyrinth deck. So that should be coming out soon.
I saw that.
There's a Steven Universe, but it's
Yes, I saw that.
it's only the major cards, and it's
Yeah,
pretty expensive for
on Etsy, there's a Lisa Frank card deck, but it's only the first 20 cards or 22 cards.
wow. There's a Vertigo Comics card deck from the 90s that you can get reprints of, like Sandman.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I've been sort of quiet. I had this headache that was like on the brink of getting worse.
Hmm.
So I've been, I went and I took some ibuprofen, which I don't do very often. And so I'm just sort of like, so I'm sorry, I normally would be more interactive.
Yeah, I've got to be a real with the whole meeting tomorrow morning. It's crazy. It's starting at 8 a.m. You know that there's going to be staff members there as well as faculty, because there's no way that faculty would have a meeting at 8 a.m.
No,
There's no way that a faculty would do that. There's a reason.
nine they would do, but not 8.
Yeah, right. And actually, not even. I mean, like, there's a reason that we have all of our meetings, if we can help it, on Friday afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
Now that backfires because sometimes you could end up with like 3 meetings on a Friday afternoon. But
I hear that.
so the octopus as the wheel, I thought that was cool.
yeah, because his 8 tentacles is the
Yeah.
8 spokes of the wheel.
And what's interesting too is, like, I mean, this has nothing to do with the card necessarily, but just how intelligent octopi actually are. Like,
Uh-huh.
how they're learning, just how cognizant they are. I mean, it's interesting to think if different mystics are correct in that we're supposed to be evolving towards grander communication between ourselves and other species as well. If we don't destroy ourselves and destroy the world, that eventually we'll just be, communicating with other species will be the norm, I mean, I think our furry friends have lots of valuable perspectives that they can share with us.
Oh, yes.
I'm convinced that Nut Nut could babysit a human. Like, if she had hands, I think she could babysit a human.
Mm.
But well, that is the conclusion of our images for
Thank you, Kurt. That was amazing.
me.
I
Yeah,
love that. I love the gallery.
No, I realized I forget because I threw it together, 20 minutes before, and I realized I didn't put Robin Wood and I didn't put Rachel Pollack, and hers is like the Shining Tribe. Her wheel is actually a coiled snake. It's kind of interesting. Yeah,
I think she has a picture of it in the
I probably
Arrow Wisdom. Let me see.
yeah.
Yeah. On page 125. So,
Page 125.
yeah, she's got that. It's the,
Oh, is it the one, are we talking about Rachel Pollak's?
Yeah, the Tarot Wisdom.
So it looks like that bird that used to drink down in the cup of water when we were kids. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Drinky bird.
And it
Yeah.
would go like that.
yeah.
It had like red juice in it or something. Do
Mhm.
you know
Yeah,
what I'm
who-
talking about?
I
Yeah,
do.
Homer Simpson was obsessed with it on The Simpsons.
Oh my God, you guys, yesterday when I was so on and I had to go to the title company to drop a check off,
He
I was
was.
wearing all my purple, Denise.
Uh-huh.
Met in real life Bart Simpson. I kid you not. I cannot lie.
Those poor parents, like,
Oh.
And he was
Everybody-
an old guy. He had gray hair.
Oh my God.
okay, now I bet Bart Simpson would be a cool grandpa, actually. You know, like,
Bart Simpson?
yeah, everybody,
Yeah.
everybody would want a grandpa that would skateboard and like, you know, dress up, dress up and like wear a cape and.
All right. Well, you guys, since we always do Robin Wood, this is so interesting. I pulled her up for you guys. Let me see.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. All the different like expressions, emotions.
Yeah.
yeah. Show it again so Heather can see.
Okay. I hope it does. I hope it works.
It worked.
Oh, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's amazing, you know, all of the energy and life that goes into each of these cards. And if you think about these decks take 3 and 4 years to draw, you know, to produce the cards. And
Caroline Davis, who's on a member of the group, she's an artist, and we work at the same college
oh, cool.
together. And she has the majors done.
Wow.
And I told her, and I said, what are your next plans? She needs to do the minors. And so we were talking about, you know, what do you do in the interim? Do you just maybe do some quick pick, you know, pip cards? Or do you then draw them out? You know, how do you kind of do this? But she's got this, it's a wonderful deck. And she also did a Woodburn deck.
Oh
where she
wow.
did- yeah. she
You
did
were
that
telling
too.
us about that.
Yeah, and so she said, I talked to her, I said, would you be willing to do a walkthrough, you know, like a Facebook Live and do a walkthrough of your deck? And she said that she would. So I'll have to, once the summer, you
You
know,
gonna
once,
put it on Kickstarter, or how is she gonna? How is she gonna?
I'm going to talk to her
That's-
about it again. I want to
really well-
encourage
that's
her.
really well on Kickstarter.
She's got,
Yeah.
her son is 11 years old. Is he 11 or is he 12 now? Gosh, is Liam 12? No,
You seen her drawings, Denise?
I've seen him.
Okay, what is she, how big are they and what material, like, are they in a sketchbook?
They're actually little, like,
Like 8.5 by
about
11?
this size, maybe a little bit, just about like this size. Like the
He's
size of
drawing
card.
this small?
Mhm.
Wow.
Maybe a
Are they
little,
in a sketchbook on like multi-use paper or what?
maybe it's a little bit bigger.
Because
Maybe a little bit bigger
I've seen
than
them
this.
do. I've seen like painting size, like on easels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
To
she
get
was
the
using
detail
colored pencil.
Wow.
on paper, like, are they loose or does she have them in a sketchbook or?
They were loose.
Huh.
Yeah, they were loose. So she did them all individual.
So-
And does she already know how she's gonna publish them?
You know, I
doesn't.
don't know that she has really thought, I mean, she wants to.
There's all kinds of avenues out there. There are there's like a version of like oh, what's that? Light. There's a version of Lightning Source that does cards, and a lot of tarot artists do their cards through that. It's like a print-on-demand service for cards, and so
Um,
people will do.
Playing, it's called like
card-
playingcards.com or something.
Yeah, something like that. And that's like the Ma'at tarot. Like that's how
I've
you,
looked at that one.
how you can get that one. That's how you can get a lot of them that like used to be out by the big companies or whatever that have gone out of print. The artists are now putting them out like on services like that. But yeah, so there's different avenues, but Kickstarter, like decks tend to do pretty well.
Oh, decks do awesome on Kickstarter. They
Yeah.
all get overfunded. And does that money, Kurt, go to the artist, the overage?
Yeah, all of it goes. Like, I mean, because some of the stuff I'm backing a game right now. I backed a game last week that got close to $1 million, like a role playing game that raised close to $1 million because
Okay, you guys, let's get back to Wheel of Fortune just for 1 second. So I found a new deck I want, looking up Robin.
Ooh, what is that?
It's
That's
called the
beautiful.
Roman Tarot. Look at this. This speaks my language.
Holy crap! Where did you find that? I mean, what?
I looked up Robin Wood Wheel of Fortune card, and it's one of the images that came up, even though it has nothing to do with it.
Roman
Look-
Tarot.
Look what it says down here.
I can't see it.
Well, it says Roman Tarot, but is that not? Just look at that image.
That's cool. Yeah.
Let me see. That's beautiful.
So now I want that deck. Heather, do you have this disease too?
Yes.
Starting your daughter early on, yeah. So what was the deck we saw tonight? Oh, the Denise, what was that one that you showed us tonight with the magician with the Afro puffs? Yeah. The witch.
That one's on my wish list too.
Modern
What's it
Witch.
called? The Modern Witch?
Modern Witch Tarot deck.
That's the one based on fashion, right?
Yeah, it sort of, has this kind of little fashion take. Let me see how much I paid for this baby. I want to say it was
You
like
said,
14
I'm
or-
holding you to the price of $14.
I know. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Let me go back and see what I paid for it.
This is
Yeah,
my
poor-
newest one.
Look, can you
Oh.
see it? You
True
can't.
heart. True
Um,
heart.
1478.
Yeah,
on
this one was
Amazon?
$14 too.
The
Yeah.
True Heart?
Let me see your True Heart one. Like, can you show us a card?
Yeah, this is the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, neat.
Ooh,
Kind of, there you go. Tilt it
That's
a little bit.
pretty. That is
There you
there you
go.
go.
So the artist and author of it, she's one of the girls from the movie The Craft.
Oh,
I love it.
wow.
Yeah.
I remember reading about that. Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why I got it, because I'm like, oh, I love that movie.
So have you seen the movie
Do you have any other cards out from that deck?
Yeah, I have the box here. Here's the Hermit.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful.
And you said that deck is $14, right?
Yeah, $14.
And what's it called? Is that
Oh,
deck?
wow.
Yeah,
She said
that's Death.
True
Look,
Heart.
and when she opens herself, it's a vagina.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, you're seeing the vagina is that sacral energy.
Yeah,
Oh
no, I
my
really
God,
like
what's the
it.
name of that deck?
True Heart.
It's the True Heart.
Heart.
And this is the Fool, which is the cover
Nice.
of the book
Check the
too.
fool out.
I
Did
love
you get
that.
it on Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got it a couple weeks ago for
Because because
$15.
Amazon has a whole article, and like if you look at the Amazon thing, doesn't it have like this whole article about that deck? Like it has a whole long thing. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember reading that.
But yeah, it comes with like a huge book too.
I'm so glad you showed us that because I was like really skeptical. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too, because I was like, well, it's only $14.
So Heather, when you get a moment, you should do a live in our group and just do a flip through slow enough so we can see them of the major arcana and maybe say a little quippet, at least just about the ones we've studied or something.
Okay.
So
would
you
be
got,
fun.
so you'll realize that we're halfway through the major arcana now.
I know.
And we haven't even stayed on schedule, you guys, and it still seems like we're going really quickly.
We're halfway through the major arcana. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to end our recording because I'm sure that if anybody's actually watching this, they're starting to get bored. So I'm going to.
Well, this has been one of our best recordings, but I say that every time.
Well, now that we have Heather joining us, we have a whole new different perspective.
I love it.
I love
And I
it.
love that you're sharing that deck, and I want you to bring that deck